Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV Reviews and Connections of Mine, and welcome back to another installment in my review and reaction series to each and every episode of Season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. If you've never seen one of my reaction episodes before, this is just where I give my brief overview of the latest episode of whatever series I happen to be reviewing, give my likes and dislikes, what I think work and don't work, as well as some analysis on certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Just to get this out of the way, this will be a full spoiler review and reaction of the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, so if you have not seen this latest episode yet, I highly recommend coming back when you have, because this will be full-on spoilers from here on out. So with that being said, without further ado, let's get into Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 9, entitled Rubicon. Undoubtedly reference to crossing the Rubicon, the point of no return, which is fitting because in this episode, we pick up right where we left off in the last episode, where Book and Tarka have what they need to complete their isolytic weapon that will, when launched into the power generator, the heart of the DMA, will effectively neutralize it, destroy it, and Burnham, on the other side, with Starfleet, are intent on stopping him because if they launch this weapon before the Federation has made first contact with Species 10C, then that will, by definition, be first contact, and there will be no turning back from there. So, Burnham is now intent on stopping the Book and Tarka. However, Starfleet rightfully assumes that she's potentially too close to the situation. She may not give the order to fire on him, by any means necessary, stopping him. Whether if that comes down to, killing him and Tarka, she may not give the order. So, Admiral Vance decides to assign a overseer to essentially say, hey, if you aren't capable of doing this, she has the authority to give the order to do this. And it turns out to be Commander Nan, who we last saw in Season 3. She's now with Federation Security, and Burnham and the crew of Discovery managed to find where Book and Tarka are finding the weapon. The initial attempt to board Book's ship fails because Tarka decided to install a sort of sentient security technology that almost kills the away team. And Book is obviously like, "Why did you do this? You should have told me about this. They almost died." And Tarka's like, "No, we got to do this no matter what." And that shows clearly that they're having tensions. Discovery, the Book and Tarka jump to the DMA to try and find the power source in order to launch it. Discovery follows them. There's a big cat and mouse game as to finding who is, where they are, can they stop them. Burnham thinks there might be there's got to be a way to talk Book down from this. She reasons that Book's doing this because he thinks that the DMA can shift position at any second and just go to another inhabited system and kill who knows how many more people, and we got to do this now. Burnham thinks, all right, what if we are able to calculate just how much time there is before the DMA jumps, and if it turns out to be quick, great, we'll have no choice but to use it. But if there is a decent chunk of time before it jumps, there's no one around, the DMA is not hurting anyone else right now, then Book will reasonably stand down and say, all right, you have this amount of time before I initiate it. So there's a race between, can they find Book and Tarka before they launch the weapon, and can they calculate the data fast enough so that Burnham can present this as the alternative. Ultimately, at the very threshold of the power source, once they locate it, Zora and Stamets are able to calculate how much time DMA has. It turns out to be about a week before the DMA jumps to its new, wherever it's going to end up. So Burnham propositions that to Book and says, hey, please stand down, give us this week, and if we let the Federation make first contact peacefully the right way, and if in that time they're unable to see reason, then yes, we'll go with your plan. Book says, all right, I'll give you this, I'll give you your week. But Tarka's like, no, we gotta do this, I'm gonna launch it anyway. He launches it into the weapon into the DMA. It turns out to, actually deactivate the DMA without ripping a huge hole in subspace or anything like that. But the whole reason Tarka was doing this plan in the first place is because he wanted the deactivated power source in order to break the walls of the multiverse, basically, so that he can go home to his alternate reality. But it turns out the DMA is actually powered from the other side of this wormhole that was the DMA was connected to, and so Tarka failed, and Book has been essentially betrayed everyone he loves for essentially nothing at this point. So they jump away. We have not heard. You've yet to hear back from them. Obviously, Burnham and the crew of Discovery pretty much failed. The DMA has been destroyed before the Federation made first contact, but there's this huge dropping the other shoe moment when called a day after this whole goes down. The crew of Discovery realizes, oh, right where the DMA was, guess what? There's a new DMA. The species tendency just sent another one, and we're right back where we started. So this whole messy thing was pretty much pointless, but it gets worse because, by destroying the DMA before the Federation reached out peacefully, first contact has been made, and the first impression is we're going to shoot first. So that's where we leave the end of this end episode, and what I really like about this episode, this is a great, at a certain point, when they're chasing, Book through this anomaly, this basically huge gas cloud, this event horizon, it gives me, the best, it's kind of a submarine movie in a sense, where, they're trying to, evade one another, and they countermeasure sort of thing, and I love that kind of thing in Star Trek. I mean, one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine is, the one, I forget the name of it now, but it's season 4, I believe, when the enemy, when the Defiant and the Jem'Hadar are hunting each other inside this gas giant's atmosphere, and it feels like a submarine movie, and I love that sort of thing. And again, it's that same sort of tension where both sides have good points, where yes, there is justifiable reasons for why Book is doing what he's doing, but there's also good reason for him not to do that. On the other hand, Starfleet and Burnham have good reasons to go about the peaceful route, but there's also risks associated with that. Again, that's that sort of conflict that we've had for the last few episodes, and we're still exploring here. And I love that we're first starting to see cracks in the crew where he's having sympathies. Commander Reese, I believe, showing sympathies with Book, whereas other members of the crew are saying, no, we got to stop Book. So there's that sort of split going down through the crew now. It's not just between Book and Burnham, and I think that really works well in this episode. What I don't really think works great is just because there's this side plot with Saru basically saying the president of Navarre. I mean, we had a kind of flirty kind of friendship thing going on before, but now she's like, oh, she asked me to dinner. What am I gonna do now? It's like that felt very out of place given this episode. I mean, maybe that was just meant to diffuse attention, and yes, that is kind of the nature of a B story, but in this case, I don't think it really worked, and it wasn't given enough chance to breathe given all the other events that are going on in this episode. So that's really the thing where I think didn't necessarily work. I mean, like I said, the main tension in this episode is the conflict between the two sides, and both sides have good points. It kind of made me think of we've seen this sort of thing happen before with Starfleet officers in that when in Deep Space Nine and Voyager with the Maquis, splitting off because they think that they have right reasons to do it, but they're also on the wrong side of official policy. So we have that sort of similarity going on there. Also, I'd also kind of forgotten about Commander Nan from last season, so it was kind of nice to see her back. Good to see that there. I also liked there was an unexpected similarity here. I mean, we already had mentioned, isolated weapons were first mentioned in Star Trek Insurrection. Now we have kind of a further similarity to Star Trek Insurrection with the chase through the DMA's Event Horizon. Is very similar to the chase of the Enterprise being chased by the Sona ships, and you have the battle flying in, igniting a gas cloud sort of thing. That tactical gamemanship going on there, and I really like that. I think Insurrection, while not the best Star Trek movie out there, is definitely underrated. I think so. There's something to be said there. Also, I think there's a similarity to be made between the events of this episode and Stargate: The Ark of Truth. In that movie, SG-1's given command of Odyssey, but the IOA has a representative that goes on board. It's like, oh, I'm here strictly as an observer, but he does technically have the authority to relieve Colonel Mitchell of command and issue orders behind his back and something like that. So, similar sort of dynamic between them and Burnham and Commander Nhan, although that one they have there's more of a friendship there, whereas in Ark of Truth it was definitely a hate-hate relationship going on there. And also, this kind of struck me, there is kind of a Star Wars-iness of this episode in that, you go on this big mission, you fire your torpedo into the center of this giant death ball, it blows up, and then, the next thing you know, oh, there's another death ball right there. We're gonna have to do something about that now. So, wasn't necessarily expecting that, but I kind of enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to. I'm glad that the main conflict here between Book and Burnham hasn't been dragged out so long. It's been essentially resolved at this point. I mean, obviously the personal stuff they're going to have to work out later, but the main crux of the split has been resolved now. Now we can focus solely on Species 10C. Who are they? What's going on? What I'd like to see, and this is drawing on the books a little bit for something, and we know that the DMA is harvesting boronite, which in Star Trek Voyager was said that boronite ore was used to synthesize the Omega particle, which is something incredibly powerful substance that has the ability to destroy subspace, which is why they have the Omega directive to destroy Omega whenever you can. And in the books, there is a very powerful species that has harvested the power of Omega to power their civilization, and they are really interesting in the book. They're called the Kaliar. I believe that's how you pronounce that. And if they do something similar here, that would be very interesting. And if they're going that direction, I'd be very excited for that. But we'll see in the next couple episodes here. I think we have 2, maybe 3 episodes left. I don't remember exactly how many episodes they said this season was going to be, but I'm looking forward to it. What did you think of this episode of Star Trek Discovery? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next review of next week's episode of Star Trek Discovery, as well as my other movie and TV reviews that came out recently. My most recent movie review was for Death on the Nile, and my most recent TV reviews were for both the first part of Season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy, as well as the Book of Boba Fett. So all those videos are on my channel. If you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.